Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy and Vivek Ramaswamy's run against President Donald Trump, and how, in reality, there's a good chance there's the 1% chance, right? So essentially, Vivek Ramaswamy, he's really smart, he's really super capable, but there is a reality right now with President Donald Trump that if he is alive and well in November of 2024 for the election, he is 99% unbeatable, right? There's only a 1% chance for any candidate, right? Now, I do think that Vivek Ramaswamy is the best candidate. And so, you know what? I think I would double his chances. I think there's a 1 in 50, there's a 2% chance that Vivek Ramaswamy, if President Donald Trump is alive and well, right, on November 2024, Vivek Ramaswamy has a 2% chance of beating Donald Trump, which is twice as good as any other candidate, right? And you're like, wait a second, Scott, why would you be backing somebody with a 2% chance? Because I would take 2% of getting a good leader over 98% chance of getting an absolute someone who has no business pursuing leadership of any type, which is who I think President Donald Trump is. I think he's a habitual, committed, unashamed liar, and I think that disqualifies him for leadership, in my humble opinion. So I have no plans to ever vote for him, right? Whereas I think, and the biggest thing is he's morally bereft, and I don't think it's even debatable. Like when his wife was when his third wife was having their baby, take a look what he was doing, right? He's completely and utterly morally bereft. No evangelical Christian could possibly, in good moral standing, vote for him, in my humble opinion, right? Whereas Vivek Ramaswamy is morally grounded, right, and shares the same values, has the same understanding of family values as any standard evangelical Christian, right? So, no evangelical Christian could ever defend even half the things that President Donald Trump has admitted doing himself, right? It's just you have to read The Art of the Deal, right? He spends an entire book saying I'm a habitual, unashamed, committed liar, right? That's his words, not anybody accusing him of anything. It's him saying, listen, I'm a habitual, confirmed, committed, unashamed liar. I use lying as a tool the same way you use a screwdriver, right? It's not a debatable subject that he's morally bereft, right? It's a fact by his own admission, right? In my humble opinion. All right. So here's where we land, right? What's really interesting is so once you realize that there's two races happening. Donald Trump is alive and well in November 2024, right? And then every candidate has 1 or 2% chance of winning because he is nigh unbeatable if he's up and running, right? But so then what is Donald Trump's and then there's the second one. Donald Trump actually has a real competitor. It's not Chris Christie. It's not Nick Haley. It's not really Vivek Ramaswamy, right? There's a 2% chance that Vivek Ramaswamy can beat him while he's up and running. But Donald Trump has a very real competitor, right? And that is his octogenarian fate. Okay, let me explain this, right? He will be our second 80-year-old president. We have run this experiment, and we know it is a failure. We know it is a failure. No one is saying this experiment worked. No one. There's no one who even defends the idea that President Biden's, there might be some people on his payroll, right? That are paid to say that he's done a decent job. They don't even say he did a good. They don't even even his own staff doesn't say he's doing a good job, right? They're just it's not the dumpster fire you're saying it is, right? They don't even pretend it's a good run, right? But his octogenarian fate is real, okay? And the very modern events have shown us the exact path of an octogenarian president. Let's count them off. Mitch McConnell, talking giving a speech, stops dead in the middle of a sentence, and has to be escorted off. Octogenarian fate. You lose your reliable ability to freely communicate. All right? Bernie Sanders, running for president, has a heart attack. He showed demonstrably that even running for president, let alone being president, will be far more stressful. And it'll be more stressful for President Donald Trump than any president ever, because there'll be more people standing against him every single inch of the way to get anything done than ever before. He's the most partisan president, and literally is a rich, verdant soil for enemies. Right? He grows his own enemies every day. Right? So the amount of strain he will be on will be far greater than what literally gave Bernie Sanders a heart attack. Bernie Sanders said flat out, just running for president gave me a heart attack. And when he had that heart attack, he lost his ability to reliably, freely move. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right, took the job, Supreme Court Justice, died on the bench. Okay? Lost her ability to reliably, freely communicate and reliably, freely move because her physical form was put underground. She no longer existed with a freely communicating, freely moving physical form above the ground, right? Because those days were over for her, right? So like McConnell, Sanders, Ginsburg, right? That is an octogenarian fate. That is real, and that is far more real than any candidate that can defeat him. And so every American is like, if I elect President Donald Trump, it has been demonstrably shown that people doing exactly what he's expected to do have lost their ability to freely communicate, lost their ability to freely move, or lost their ability to freely communicate and freely move, right, from these octogenarian fates. That is his true opponent, right? And Americans have to go, do we want to, the Democrats ran this octogenarian president experiment. It was a massive failure. Do we want to run this again, right? Do we want to make this red and blue policy? And the idea is no, right? Like, we need people who can freely communicate, freely move, and do both, freely communicate and freely move. And the idea that an octogenarian president will be able to do that seems ludicrous, in my humble opinion. The idea that you would sign up an octogenarian president and expect them to be able to freely communicate and freely move through the entirety of their term is ludicrous. We know it. We've seen it, right? McConnell, Sanders, Ginsburg. This is a terrible idea on every perspective. Vivek Ramaswamy, he is not an octogenarian. He is a tricentenarian, right? He's literally in his 30s. The odds that he will be able to freely communicate, freely move, and retain his ability to freely communicate and freely move are massively high, right? The odds of him losing any of those are outrageously low. If you were in Vegas, you'd take bets on it, right? If you were in Vegas, you would not take a bet on any of those for President Donald Trump, right? So that's where we really are. That's the issue that needs to actually be set, right? Vivek Ramaswamy is a tricentenarian. It is logical and ideal to put a tricentenarian into the presidency. It is outrageously foolish, outrageously irresponsible, outrageously disregarding of basic science and every modern event we have seen to put an octogenarian president into office, in my humble opinion. The sad part is President Donald Trump only has one competitor. It is his octogenarian fate, in my humble opinion. From his other technical competitors, but not functional competitors, I think Vivek Ramaswamy comes out as a 2% chance to beat Donald Trump if he's up and running, all right? Which is double of any of the other ones. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.